So now Donald Trump is threatening no back pay for federal workers. And as this government shutdown just continues to loom on, you got to sit and say to yourself, we're still in the early phases of it, but the longer it drags out, the more people are going to be affected by it, and the longer it's going to take to come back from it. And again, I always start here, and I have to start here because this is just the truth. This is just the reality. Donald Trump's the president. He's got the House. He's got the Senate. He's got the Supreme Court. There's no other reason for the government to be shut down but him. But here he is, just basically saying that, there may be no back pay. But notice what it is that he says here. I want you to pay attention to the way that he phrases this, because it all circles back to what we were talking about earlier with the plenary authority. It always circles back to he will help who's loyal to him.
Is it the White House's position that furloughed workers should be paid for their back pay?
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. Okay? Thank you. No,
So did you notice that? We'll take care of our people, and the people that we don't want to take care of, we'll take care of them in a different way. And again, they want to talk to us about turning down the temperature, but it basically sounded to me like that, well, it depends on who they are. If there's someone who supported me, we'll help them. If they didn't, we won't. That's pretty much what it sounded like to me that he was saying there. But I want to bring you up this article here. This one's from the Associated Press. Before I read it, I do want to thank y'all so much for hitting that subscribe button. If you haven't already, be sure and hit it, because we're on the road to 1 million subscribers, and I truly do appreciate all of you for your support. But we will dive in here to a little bit more of this article here. So Donald Trump administration warned on Tuesday of no guaranteed back pay for federal workers during a government shutdown, reversing what has been a long-standing policy for some 750,000 furloughed employees, according to a memo circulated by the White House. Trump signed into law, after the longest government shutdown in 2019, legislation to ensure federal workers would receive back pay during any federal funding lapse. But in the new memo, his Office of Management and Budget says back pay must be provided by Congress if it chooses to do so as part of any bill to fund the government. The move by Republican administration was widely seen as a strong-arm tactic. Well, of course, a way to pressure lawmakers to reopen the government now in the seventh day of a shutdown. There are some people that don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way, Trump said during the event at the White House. He said the back pay depends on who we're talking about. Asked a second time about back pay for furloughed workers, given that the requirement is spelled out in the law, Trump said, I follow the law, and what the law says is correct. But refusing retroactive pay to workers, some of whom must remain on the job as essential employees, would be a stark departure from norms and practices and almost certainly be met with legal action. While federal workers, as well as service members of the military, have often missed paychecks during past shutdowns, they're almost always reimbursed once the government reopens. That should turn up the urgency and the necessity of the Democrats doing the right thing, Johnson said, House Speaker Johnson said at a press conference at the Capitol. Johnson, a lawyer, said he hasn't fully read the memo, but there are some legal analysts who are saying that it might not be necessary to appropriate the repay to federal workers. Democratic Senator Patty Murray of Washington blasted the Trump administration as part of defying the law. Another baseless attempt to try and scare and intimidate workers by an administration ran by crooks and cowards, said Murray. The letter of the law is as plain as it can be. Federal workers, including furloughed workers, are entitled to their back pay following a shutdown. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, a Republican, said, my assumption is that the furloughed workers will get paid. In the first memo draft prepared for Trump's Office of Management and Budget Director, Russ Vought, Project 2025, first reported by Axios, the office's general counsel, Mark Paletta, lays out a legal rationale for no back pay of the federal workers. The memo explains that while the federal government employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019 says workers shall be paid after federal funding is restored, it urges the action is not self-executing. Instead, the memo says repaying the federal workers would have to be part of a subsequent legislation, presumably in the bill to reopen the government. The OMB analysis draws on language familiar to budget experts by suggesting that the 2019 bill created an authorization to pay federal workers, but not the actual appropriation. Congress, it says, is able to decide whether it wants to pay workers or not. For now, Congress remains at a standstill with neither side nor the White House appearing to be willing to budge. Democrats are fighting for health care funds to prevent a lapse in federal subsidies that threaten to send insurance rates skyrocketing, and Republicans say the issue can be dealt with later. So, yeah, folks, there we go. And another issue that they're going to be dealing with later is swearing in Adelita Grijalva out of Arizona. She's going to be the 218th vote that Thomas Massie needed to be able to release the Epstein files. And so here we are. And even though that law was put into place under Donald Trump the first time, he does not care about the law, and they will always find a way to interpret it and spin it into, we just make up the rules on the spot. That's basically it. They're just going to make it up as they go. They're going to interpret it however. I've never seen an administration in my lifetime ever do anything like this. I've never seen one that will sit back and say, well, I know it says don't do that, but actually you can if you're us. That's essentially what they're saying. I'm going to play you a clip. This one here is a day or so old, but I want to show you this one because Mike Johnson is absolutely delusional right here when he says that Republicans give a damn about health care. By the way, they never have. But watch him be completely delusional in this clip.
So they created a red herring. A red herring is a distraction. They decided that they would pick a fight on health care. Well, let me look right into the camera and tell you very clearly. Republicans are the ones concerned about health care. Republicans are the party working around the clock every day to fix health care. This is not talking points for us. We've done it. A big part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, was to fix health care. Health care is broken.
He looked right into the camera and lied through his teeth, and I can prove that really quickly. What has been the Republicans' alternative to the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare? What's been their alternative? Where is their plan? Donald Trump said that he had the best health care plan ever, but we've never seen it. He kept telling us we'd see it, but we never have. Folks, they have never one time brought a bill to the table for health care. They have never one time showed you an alternative to the Affordable Care Act. They have never one time went to bat for health care ever. It's not a thing. It's never happened. It's not out there. You can't find it. They've been against it every step of the way. Their only idea of fixing Obamacare is to destroy it, is to gut it, is to cut it out completely. So when he said, let me look into the camera, if you'll notice, after saying, let me look into the camera, his eyes was all over the place. Because there's no way he could really hold a straight face and say that. But it's so crazy to me that there are people out there who will hear him say that and go, yeah, man, they've been fighting for us this whole time. Show me their health care plan. Where was Donald Trump's health care plan? Remember he said, I have concepts of a plan? We still haven't even seen the concepts. We still haven't even heard the concepts. There's been nothing. So it's absolutely ridiculous. And this all circles back to, they could sit there and talk all day long. It circles back, for me, it will always circle back to Epstein and them not wanting to release the files. And here is Johnson being asked about, why won't you swear in Grijalva? And again, he's full of shit. Take a look.
Well, earlier this year, you swore in 2 Republican members during a pro forma session. So why not swear in Adelita Grijalva, who was elected 2 weeks ago during a pro forma session? Does it have to do with her 218th signature on the discharge petition, the Epstein discharge?
No, it has nothing to do with that at all. We will swear her in when everybody gets back. It's a ceremonial duty. Look, we'll schedule it, I guess, as soon as she wants. It has nothing to do with it. We're in pro forma session because there is nothing for the House to do. The House has done its job. People say, why don't you do more? Let's do more. Now you should do something. We already did something. It was passing a clean CR. We did.
Let me ask you a question. If it was a Republican that won in a landslide and they needed that person's vote for something they were trying to push through, do you think they'd be stalling? Do you think they would be holding back if somewhere a Republican had won in a landslide and they had something on the table they wanted to bring out and they needed one more vote to get it and that person was their vote? Do you think they'd hold back? Do you think they'd say, well, we'll have to wait on that one and kick that can down the road? Hell no. But I'm going to play you one last clip here. This is from Adelita Grijalva herself, talking about how frustrating it is not being sworn in.
So, Congresswoman-elect, where do things stand, and what's your message to Speaker Johnson right now?
If he's serious, just give me a date and I will be there. Period. Like, pro forma, call us in. The frustration for me is that it seems as if Speaker Johnson is not willing to swear me in because our politics are a little different, or because I'm going to be the 218th signer, that, he can continue to drag this along with no end in sight. And that is not a foundation of our democracy. And I need to fight for the almost 800,000 people in our community that right now do not have a voice in Congress and don't have the support from our district.
And folks, I'm really not trying to bring down the room when I say this to you. I'm truly not. But I have a lot of people say to me, Brando, do you think that they'll accept the results of the midterms? Do you think that we'll even have an election in 2028? And I think right here is kind of a preview of what's to come. They're stalling swearing in someone who won in a landslide. And they're stalling, we all know why. Really, they can dodge it all day, but we all know why. They're stalling on this. I think this is a preview of everything that's going to come. Do you honestly think that if Democrats just win in a big landslide, if there's a big giant blue wave that just, rocks them to their core? Mike Johnson already said that if the Democrats get back in, they'll impeach Trump. So do you really think they're going to accept it? I think they've got us right where they want us. I think they've got the government shut down. I think that's exactly what they wanted to happen because they never wanted to be working for us to start with. They were only out for their billionaire buddies, and they were able to dupe people along the way, and it's truly sad. We'll see how long this thing drags out, folks. I hope we see our government reopen, and I would really like to see people working together, and I would like to see bipartisan support. I'd like to see people reach across the aisle and shaking hands and working for all of us. But that's not going to happen when you've got one party that's had concepts of a plan and you still haven't seen their concept.